Greetings, everyone. Dr. Annette West, Publishing Pusher here. Thanks for joining me in the JetName Publishing, talking all things books. Yes, the operative words, all things. I'm excited you're here. You listen in, share your thoughts. You don't have to be live on the screen to be able to talk. And I want you to know your success is my business. I'm here to assist you, support, empower, inspire as we pull out those thoughts to get these books accomplished. Thanks again for joining me.
Hi, everyone. Whew, it's another beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining us on today. You are very much appreciated taking out of your time to come into the spot on today. This is JetName Publishing, talking all things books. I am Dr. Annette West, your voice for this particular platform, and thank you for joining in. This week, we are supposed to be talking about editing. And the reason is, as we met last Thursday for our 45-minute window, editing came up. We had a couple of editors in the space. Hopefully they will come in today, but we'll still do what we need to do, whether they're in or not. But before we start talking about specifically authors editing for the editor, I want to share a resource with you. This is the resource. It's called the Little Style Guide to Great Christian Writing and Publishing. Now, this is an older one, I believe. This is 2004. I am sure they have a newer one, but if you can get an older one, maybe go to Thrift Books, THRIFTBOOKS.org, Thrift Books. I purchase a lot of older books on there that I can often find for very low cost. I think I looked on Amazon. This one, I didn't see this one, but I saw one from maybe like 2014. It was $30. This one at the time I purchased it was about $10. And this is easy, it's small enough. I can put it right in my briefcase, in my purse if I'm working on something, and I can take it with me. But what I would say about us as writers preparing to become authors is to ensure that we know what type of writing we want to do. For instance, in academia, you may use APA, MLA, Chicago. In Christian writing, most people will use Chicago, some type of Christian writing guide. I often still use APA. The reason I use APA is I'm comfortable with it. I use it through my undergraduate, graduate, and doctorate program. So even though the volume changes, like there's a 7th edition out currently, overall the content is the same and structure is the same. You would just have to catch up on whatever the new changes are. The Chicago, this here is not going to change. There may be some more pieces to add to it, but in and of itself, it's not going to change. So I would say get a style guide, whatever style guide you want, because it's going to help you to stay focused on the direction that you need to go in when you're trying to do your writing and preparing for your publishing. Now, this little book, I would say whether you're a new author or a seasoned author, this will benefit. This book will still benefit you greatly. And like I said, I've been using this as one of my resources since 2004 when I purchased it. But most of my writing, like I said, I use APA the seventh edition now because I am very familiar with it. So every editor, every publishing company may not use the same style of writing, but there are many elements that flow across each style of writing that is universal to a great extent. So just be mindful that if you're planning to self-publish, which I hope you are, then you have some type of style manual that's going to help you through the process. Like I said, this is an older one. I purchased this back in 2004. I don't use this particular as my guide, but there are so many valuable nuggets inside this. For instance, it gives you book production, preparing your manuscript, rights, permission, stages in the process, editor-author relationship. It gives you in-depth detail on different types of things, which we all need when we are writing, how to punctuate what you're writing, the elements of style, use of numbers in text, capitalization, footnotes and references, academic style requirements, tricky spellings and words, publishing and technology helps, proofreading and editing marks, writing for religious publishers, and also other suggested books. So I'm just sharing this as an example because it's one that I've had on my shelf since 2004. There may be some that are in today that may have another one to show you that maybe they are using or they think might be a good fit for you as you are preparing your writing content and your manuscripts. So I just wanted to share this with you on today. Last week, I just want to thank the Lord because we've had some great discussions in I think this is our fourth session together, and we've had some great questions to come to the platform. And last week, as we met, Written Word Publishing, Melvise, and also Miss Anna Roseborough were in the space last week. And some questions were asked about editing. And we talked about bringing a topic to the platform today on authors being edit ready. And Melvise, I don't know if you're able to open up and come on, and Miss Anna, if you're able to come to the screen. If you're able, I would love to invite you to the screen if you want to, or if you want to just open your mic and speak. But I really wanted some experts to share their perspective on this, authors being edit ready. I like to remind everybody, I can edit, but I'm not an editor. And I'm not going to put myself out as what I am not. When I work with my clients, editing is a part of the process. So we're going to make sure it gets done. But I am not the overall. I look at everything that my authors submit, but I know to have people in place to do what I'm not as well equipped to do, or I'm just not able to do it at this time. So you can't be an expert at everything. So you have to decide what things you want to invest your energy and effort to be your best. I wanted to, Melvise, if you were able to come on, Miss Anna, open your mic and let me know if you want to come on. I see Dr. Coleman is in the house also, and she is also a publisher. So I solicit comments from all of you.
Yes, good morning. This is Melvise. I can't come off camera, but I can come off mic.
Okay.
Yes. So yes, I think it's important to have your book edit ready, save some frustration for the editor, save some time, save some money. I think one of the biggest one of the biggest things I find editing two spaces after a period. Two spaces after a period is not for published books. That's for the essay you wrote back in high school. That's not for a book. It takes a lot of time to delete those extra spaces. So if you could eliminate that before you send it to the editor, that would be real cool. I actually have a document that I created that I send to authors called Save Time, Save Money, with some tips on things that they can do on their end before they send it to the editor. so that it will ultimately save time and money. A lot of editors charge by the word and by the page, but I charge by the hour. So the more time that it takes, the more money you're going to end up spending. And there's some things that you can do to save money. Let me pull up that document. Hold on a second. I got to find it.
Are you able, I can allow you to make you a co-host so that you can share it on the screen if you would like.
I'm on Zoom on my phone.
Oh,
That
okay.
document
Okay,
is
so
on
it's
my
not gonna
computer. I will
work.
have to
Got
come
you.
back in. Yeah, I will have to
No
come back
problem.
in
Maybe
from
we
my
can show it.
phone.
Maybe you'll be able to show it next week or send it to me and I'll pull it up next week and show it or something like that. That's fine.
Yes, and then after, what I went through with the book that I was editing earlier this week, I decided I needed to add that to the list. So I am going to update it to include that. Yeah, so especially if you're doing faith-based writing, quoting scriptures, it'll really help if you took the time to let the editor know which Bible translation you want to use. You can use multiple translations if you want to, but let the editor know. It'll be easier because I always check them against the Bible. I find that a lot of especially well, a lot of my clients are pastors, bishops, prophets, men and women of God, and a lot of times when they write, they don't go to the Bible to get the scripture, they go to their memory. So a lot of times the scripture is quoted incorrectly. I always double check the scriptures against the Bible to make sure that they are quoted, correctly. And if how many translations are there? I don't even know, but it takes a lot of time to find the right translation. Sometimes two or three translations could be written similar. It may just be one word that's different in a particular verse, but it takes time to find all that information. So if you provide that information to the editor beforehand, that will definitely save time. And then another thing I ran into, if you want to quote 16 scriptures, don't directly quote 16 scriptures. Sum it up. You don't need to have two whole pages of scriptures in your book back to back to back to back to back. That's yeah. That's something that everybody who writes Bible based or faith based books just needs to keep in mind when they're writing. And I would say it's better too to sum it up. You tell them, the portion of the Bible that it came from, and then let them go and read the Bible themselves. You don't have to quote, all of that stuff in your book.
That's true. One of the things you mentioned, Melvise, was the different Bibles. And I looked it up and it says this is major, y'all. There are approximately 900 different English Bibles translated. Okay. So, whoa, that is a lot. So it does make it hard for people to even choose, but you can't choose everything. I probably on my shelf, I know I have about 30 Bibles that I have used during the year, through the many years that I've been saved and in ministry, but I typically have two or three that are my go-to Bibles for my everyday engagement, if that makes sense. Miss Anna?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Miss Anna.
If she's finished, she was talking about saving time and saving money. One of the ways that authors can save time and money, even though they are quoting scripture, is to know which Bible's translations can be used at no charge. That there are 900 versions of that Bible. At this point, there are only two that I'm aware of that one can quote from without having to do anything but put the information on the copyright page. Other translations of the Bible do permit you to quote them, but you must have written permission to do so. And if the author is trying to get people to read the word, send them to the Word, let them read it themselves. And that's a way of confirming for your readers that you are working from the Word with a capital W. And when she finishes, I'll be glad to share how I prepare writers to meet with editors.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miss Anna. Melvise, go ahead.
Yeah, so so I believe that there are some translations you have to directly go to the publisher to get the permission from, but if you put their copyright information, the permission copyright, you can find it on their website. I actually have a document where I have all of the copyright information for a slew of translations. You can use the translations. It's just a limit to the amount of scriptures that you can have in your book. So you don't have to have written permission for every translation. You're just limited to the amount of scriptures from that translation that you can use in your work. But you just have to make sure you put that copyright information on the copyright page of your book.
And I think it's important for us to, which is something that I learned later instead of sooner. The first book that I did, the first devotional that I did of my own back in 2006, I had lots of scriptures. I had passages of scripture, and it was great. It was great. It was great. But I learned that still was not the Bible. And I really wanted people to go back to the Bible. So I minimized the content from scripture that I would put later. And I'll try to do things like make a statement and paraphrase and say, go back and look at and quote what that scripture is so people can go to it. And I think if we learn the Bible, one of the courses I took many years ago was learn the story and then you can tell it. Learn the stories in the Bible and then you can tell them. Why? This is important because we may not have the opportunity to speak to some people that understand what we're saying if we quote scripture. So we don't want to quote scripture. We want to tell the story and be able to direct people to it. Miss Anna, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the ways that I work with new writers particularly is to begin with a chart. And if you've given me permission, I can share it. It's called Audience, Message, Purpose. Okay. Once a writer contacts me and lets me know that they would like my assistance, I don't call myself an editor, I call myself a coach. That once you have an idea of what it is you want to write about, then I can assist you in doing that. And so one of the first things I send to a new writer or a new client is a chart asking them to articulate, put into words, what is the purpose of this particular publication? Who is the audience for this particular publication? And what are your goals? Again, many people write for different purposes. In order for the editor or the coach to work with them, they need to know what you have in mind. And so my question may be, put into words, what is your specific purpose for publishing this book? Is it to inform, to persuade, to entertain, to inspire? And I ask them to complete it with a direct object. The direct object indicates who the audience is. And then who is the specific audience? What do you want your audience to know and be able to do once they've read your book? And to know, as what Dr. West was mentioning about what do the readers know already about the topic, if you know what they know, you can build on what they know. If you know they don't know yet, you may have to write a little bit differently. And so under that question, what do you want your audience to know and be able to do once they read your book? I ask, what do they know already? More importantly, particularly when we're writing books having to do with theology and gospel, what do they believe about your topic? And how is their behavior influenced by this knowledge or belief? More importantly, at this point is, what new information are you providing for this audience? How do you think this new information will impact what they believe? How do you think what they read in your book will change your behavior? And then once an author is able to put into words what their purpose is for the book, I, as their coach, can ask them to go back as we go back and forth with their writing. Where in your writing are you providing this information? How are you affirming what they already believe, but also expanding their understanding? And then as we go on, I ask them, what is your plan to draw your audience into and want to read what you have written? This would be information that they may use in the introduction if they happen to be writing a book with an introduction. It may be what they may opt to include in the blurb on the back of the book. And then this comes up often, particularly for those who are writing journals and devotionals. What do you want the audience, how do you want the audience to use this book? If it's as a handbook, where do you offer them or challenge them to use what you've written? If it's a journal, how do you set up the pages where they journal? Depends on whether you want them to write a few words, several words, or a paragraph. And that would be part of the formatting. But this is, what are you including in your book that the audience may not be able to find easily anywhere else? And that would have to do with the way we lay out the book. It goes on for another couple of pages, but once an author has answered these questions about their book, we, their editors or coaches or publishers, will be better able to guide them along the way because we know what their goal is for the book. And then consequently, when they come to us about feedback for their book, we go back to that chart. What did you say you want to do? Show me in your book where you're doing it. Where do you need some assistance? And that's where we end up our coaching sessions. I may be able to find the information, but as I think the other lady, what was her name, please? I'd like to use her name.
Melvise.
Sister Melvise was saying, this costs. And the more we can coach the new writers to do their own thing correctly, the less it will cost them, but it'll also make our job a little easier. We can focus on what they're saying and how they're saying it rather than what they've put in it so far.
Yes. Miss Anna, thank you so much for sharing that that table with us also. I've seen it before, and I tell you, that is such a beneficial piece to not even just a new author. Every time an author wants to create a new project, going back to that list is very important to fill out because it's going to make the process much easier.
And knowing that most writers it takes 2 to 4 days, maybe even a week, to complete that. But once they have thought through what they want to do, the more likely our work as their coach, their editor, their publisher will be on target. And as Melvise was saying about ministers and people in the church who are familiar with the word, if they step back a moment and recall that their audience for this particular book may not be as familiar, and therefore they may have to tell more stories to bring them in, etc. But that's what I would have to share today.
Thank you, Ms. Anna. That's real. That's good. That's rich. Thank you. Melvise, did you have a follow-on to that?
Yes, those sound similar to the questions that I ask authors who are seeking ghostwriting ghostwriting service. Yeah, I have a question there similar to that I will ask them because I definitely need to know all that stuff if you want me to quote unquote write your book for you.
Yeah, that's what that sounds like, somebody writing it.
Yeah. So
I do have a question.
I'm sorry.
I had a question about ghostwriting. I'm at this point.
Miss Anna, before you answer the question on ghostwriting, I saw that Dr. Coleman had a question or a comment, and I didn't know if it was relative to what you all were sharing before. Dr. Coleman?
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Great morning.
Can you hear me, baby? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay, I'm in the parking lot getting my car service at the Cadillac dealership, so excuse me. But that is great information that we just heard. But that sounds more to me, and it's a great tool. But it almost sounds as if, and you can help me out. It Are you ghostwriting? Are you doing content analysis for that person? I know you use the word coaching. So my question is, are you coaching them on how to write? Are you actually coaching them for you to do the content analysis? Are you coaching them to actually prepare them to edit? Because it looked like it's a plethora of things that you're doing there. And I'm just wondering if you're getting paid for all of those services as one unit, or are you working these as individual processes?
The answer to your questions is yes, 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 including I charge for what I do. If during our online consultation session, I realize that the person understands what they have to do, then they do it. If, on the other hand, someone has a draft and they've told me what they want to do and they would like me to help them word it, then that's a different charge. I don't have a package price because everyone needs something different. Instead, I charge by the step. So if someone comes with, often they start with a memoir and they decide that they want it for one purpose. And so if they need some help with the writing, I charge with the help with the writing. At this point, I do no ghost writing in that I do the writing and they get the credit. Instead, I help them write it themselves.
Say that again. Say that again.
At this point, At this point, I do not do ghostwriting, which my understand is if I write it and their name goes on it as if they were the writers. I don't do that.
So you write. I'm good. Okay. Maybe it's just I'm not in the element. Okay. Thank you, baby.
Give me a call or email me or text me and I can explain, but I more assist with the writing than do the writing.
So Miss Anna, you're helping people to be self-publishers. You're not publishing people's work for them.
No.
Okay. Got it. Dr. Coleman, did you have another question or comment?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So Miss Anna, you were getting ready to ask Melvise about ghostwriting.
Right. How does she define ghostwriting, and at what point does her writing become published as somebody else's writing?
Yeah, so ghostwriting is basically writing the book for someone else and they get all the credit, totally anonymous. No one would ever know that I wrote the book unless they choose to disclose that information. And basically, like I said, I have the authors answer all these questions that are similar to those questions that you provided, and then I have them send me all of their content. So I have done it in various ways. I've done where there was a pastor who sent me his notes from 30 sermons that he delivered, and I took those notes and turned them into a book. I've had someone send me videos and voice recordings and videos from their YouTube channel. And I transcribed all of that content and extracted, what was relevant to the topic of their book and turned that into a book. I have done where someone had their journal that they have been keeping for like 20 years, where they actually mailed me all of that. I mean, a huge stack of pages that I had to, it was all handwritten, that I had to transcribe, type up and chop it up. It's almost like putting together a puzzle. You got all the pieces here. You have to create an outline, determine what, goes with what chapter, put it together, paste it together. I've done a project where someone had voice recordings from conversations they had on Clubhouse that they wanted to turn into a book. And I had to listen to all of those recordings and extract all the details that were relevant to the topic of the book, put them in order, organize them, and then basically fill in the gaps. So whatever is missing, I have to physically write. What you know what I mean? So I'm basically the author, but I'm not the author, for lack of a better.
Here's a question for you, Melvise. Here's a question, Melvise, based on all of that, because that's a massive amount of work that you would be doing to assist this client. So I am assuming this is a very pricey part of the pre-process, because this isn't even a manuscript being done. So we're not even talking about the publishing. We're just talking about getting a manuscript created. So in my mind, I'm hearing, now I can understand why people say that ghostwriting typically is about 5,000, 10,000 and up. When you consider all the time and effort that you have to put into focusing on what the person has written, focusing on what the person said, having an ear that's in tune. So
exactly, yes, I do.
So I'm going to say this about you, Melvise. What you're doing is not for the faint of heart. I tried it one time, and I did it one time because I wanted to see. You know, like, you got to try it one time to see. That one time was enough time for me. Say that, Melvise.
No, that was me. I said, you got to put a price on it. Anytime that you're really writing somebody's work for them. Now, I can think about a conversation, Melvise, that we had with one of my writers, and y'all kept sending it back, so you're going to have to rewrite that. You're going to have to do that. And what I realized is, like Melvise said to me, she said, the minute you write it, it's there. And I said, I understand that. But this, to me, is about perfecting this book. And no person, not one author, is going to have a piece of work that is not good. And so it goes back to Miss Anna's question about when does it become that individual's ownership of that piece of work. It becomes theirs the moment you write it for them and agree to do it. And that's content analysis. And most of the time these days, you're going to deal with content analysis. Are you going to be the ghostwriter? And then I say have a second edit, a pre-edit, before you send it to the editor. And that way, I let Melvise catch it on the end. I pre-edit, I do the content analysis, we evaluate, and then the book is sent. And I remember one time you told me, you got to put a quote on here. This person doesn't have a quote. They don't have an affirmation. And I remember that conversation with you said. I said, okay, I can never say it's mine, right? She said, no, it doesn't belong to you anymore. Because what? You have put it in for somebody else's work. So that's when it becomes theirs. When you write it and you put it under their name, they have ownership of it. And you can't discuss that you've written anything unless that person gives you permission.
Yes, exactly. And it takes a lot of time, because, and then we do also, Zoom meetings, throughout the process, face to face, because I have to adapt their voice. So, everybody has their own writing style. So I am an author. I have written, books that were by Melvise, and Melvise has her own writing style. But when Melvise is a ghostwriter, she has to adapt the style of the author that she is writing for. It takes a lot of brain power, an extreme amount of brain power, and every single time I ghostwrite a book, I'll reach a point where I feel like I gotta pull out my hair. I get a severe, like I can't even explain the feeling, but I always have to remind myself how all of my previous clients were so pleased with the end result. So I just keep that in mind, like, okay, I can get over this hump. I've done it before, and I know that the author is going to be extremely pleased. And that is what keeps me going when I reach that pull my hair out moment. And on average, from start to finish, depending on how much content or how they provide me with the details, on average it takes about 150 to 200 hours to complete the process from start to finish.
And then too, if I can say this, some people you just have to accept that they're not someone that you need to work with. That has been difficult for me. That's why you send the pre-evaluation, let people pre-write and send information, because Mel B's hit it on the head. We all write, and you know, my daughter said you have. I don't know how you get in these people's head, but we do. We literally take on somebody else's personality, somebody else's thought. But I think one of the main things that concerned me that I found frustrating, so I've kind of taken it off the table, is working with people who are not, what's a polite word for it? Who are not, in other words, they don't like for you to tell them, baby, you're going to have to work on this piece because, you know, the message is not clear. What is it that you want to say? And sometimes people don't know what they want to say, or they're uncomfortable with it. Or the vice side of what I'm dealing with now, you help write that piece of work for somebody, but they can't present it in interview. And then it becomes obvious what's the disconnect between what's written and how they're projecting it. Does that make sense? Somebody give me a comment on that.
Yeah, that's why I'm uncomfortable with ghostwriting. To me, it feels like untruth. And rather than
no, it's true with ghostwriting because you're writing what they told you to write.
Right, but you hit the nail on the head when you said when someone is in an interview and they are asked about what is in their book,
right,
but they haven't written it, and folks want to know why or how you sound so different from the book with your name on it. Whereas if it says written in collaboration with XYZ, gives that person an out, and it keeps us from, as authors, from really being untruthful because it's their ideas, but it's our writing. And that's why I'm here today. I want to know how people ghostwrite as Christians when it's not really, it doesn't seem to me yet it is a truthful way to use our skills. If we are selling our words that other people are using as their words. And so I want to understand what the difference is, because it's maybe just a misconception on my part. What is this?
Go ahead,
publishing?
Yeah, no, see, it's not, but it's not like, I mean, they have to provide me with more than just their idea in order for me to write the book for them. They have to have some type of content, something in their own words, whether it be verbal or written, that I can piggyback off of, for lack of a better word. So it's not like somebody just comes to me and says, I want to write a book. I want you to write a book for me about XYZ. And then I have to come up with every single detail for the book. It's not like that. They have to provide me with some type of content, some type of something to go off of. I'm not going to just write it from scratch. You understand what I mean? So like I said, with someone giving me their notes from, 30 sermons that they delivered, or voice recordings they did, videos they did, their journal. You see what I'm saying? So it is their content. I'm just perfecting it and putting it together and filling in the gap. So the only time I actually have to use my own words, for lack of a better way to say it, is if something is in the book and they did not provide me with enough detail where I have to, I have to go off of what I know for this particular chapter. But then they read it, and if they don't agree with it, they have the ability to change it and tell me, no, this is not what I wanted to say. This is how I want it to be, and then we can change it. And then as far as how it goes with them, like doing interviews, before it got to the publishing process, they should have read that manuscript at least 20 or 30 times. So after you read the book 20 or 30 times, if you don't know what's in it, that's on you. You know what I mean?
So I get the ghostwriting, and I think it's a beneficial thing, because I know there are some people who really can't get their stuff fully out the way they want it, although they have the depth of what is needed. And I think as long as the depth is given, as Melvise is saying, then I think it's fine. But then I'll also say there are people who actually write books that don't want to be known, and they do sell those books to people, and people put their names on it because they purchased the books. So that happens a lot as well. And I don't think it's unethical or illegal if that's what your business is to write books. I mean, people, think about it. People have been writing songs for years and years and years and selling those songs to people, and people have become millionaires or made big money off of those songs. But it was what somebody had. They didn't want to be the singer, but they created it. So if you're the creative person and you want to sell your creative work, then that's fine. But this was, open your mic, Miss Anna. You were saying something?
No, I just said, okay, now I'm understanding how Christians can ghostwrite. It had been a very uncomfortable thought to me until I heard this discussion today. I'm not sure I could do it, but at least I understand how and why some Christians are willing to use their talents and give other people the credit for their work.
Yes. Like I said, I tried it one time, y'all. I tried it one time. It was a bear of a hassle. It really was. But we got it done. We got it done. Took a long time, but we got it done. Was it cost effective for me? No, because of the person that I was working with and because of who I am. And I always hear the Lord saying, just because you can charge it doesn't mean you have to charge it. So I didn't charge it, understanding the situation and the plight of the person. And now they have a beautiful book that is out, and I'm excited that it is under my company. So there are benefits that come to us if we're doing more than just being the ghostwriter. Like Melvise is the ghostwriter, but she's doing a whole lot of other things. So once she ghostwrites that person's content, she can be their editor, and she can be their publisher as well. So you can have somebody ghostwrite your content and they not be your publishing company.
Yes. Everybody who hired me as a ghostwriter did not publish with Written Words Publishing. So that's I mean, once the book is done, you can do whatever you want with it. So that's up to you. So yeah.
And remember, the manuscript is you must have the manuscript before you can publish. So understanding the pieces of the process. There is no book until there is a manuscript that has been published for an output of a tangible copy of a book.
And keeping in mind too, Dr. Wesley, I can say this to Miss Anna. Just remember, Miss Anna, you're distinguishing between ghostwriting, content analysis. You just, because to be honest, from hearing what you said earlier today, or whether you're consciously aware or not, you're doing content analysis. If you're asking them to submit their information, then you're helping them with. It's the same process. If I have someone and they submit a piece of work to me, I've talked with that person eons of time. I'm like Melvise. I know their work really better than they know their work. But the message is, what's the niche? What are you really trying to say? What is your purpose? And then you find sometimes when people are writing, that they're writing to heal themselves. And so as a result of that, they cannot necessarily know their direction. So you're there as a content analysis person to say, okay, I've read what you said. Let's look at this. And how can we speak this in a language that the audience will understand your pure message? Your pure message. What are you trying to deliver? So I don't have any problem doing content analysis with people, because they tell me their story, they write, they submit to me what they have, and then I go back to them and I said, okay, I don't feel comfortable with this because you're not pulling me in. Remember, your writer has to feel your words. Your words are giving life to somebody because you have a purpose. So all of that is working together hand in hand, I think. But no, I wouldn't do anything that I didn't feel truthful about. But I do know when I assist people, when they ask me for help, if they want that affirmation and they're not comfortable with what they're able to do, yes, I write their affirmation for them based upon all of the conversations and submissions that have been sent to me.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Well, we are at the end Ms. Anna, did you or Melvise have a final comment that you wanted to make before we close? I appreciate you both.
Yeah, so I pulled up. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you for sharing with me, helping me to understand a little better the terminology for the steps in preparing a manuscript for publication.
Thank you, Miss Anna. Thank you. Melvise?
Yeah, so I pulled up that document that I was referring to. So I would say, so before you send it to the editor, you want to make sure that you proofread your manuscript at least, twice, maybe more. Because it's likely you'll see errors you didn't notice while you were writing or typing. Okay. Use your preferred font and size. So you need to select a font that's pleasing to the eyes. Popular fonts for printed books are Garamond, Times New Roman, Palatino, Arial, and Bookman Old Style. The 12 point or 13 point are good sizes. Some people like to use 14. They want the larger font for for eyes, people can see it better. And you just be mindful of the fact that the font and the size can increase or decrease the number of pages. So if you plan to have it printed and bound, the printing cost, increase in pages increases the printing cost. And like I said before, don't add never place two spaces between the sentences. Use page breaks at the end of a page of each chapter. I see people return until it gets down to the next page. No. Control, enter. Boom, you're on a new page. Page breaks.
I think you have some good content. Miss Anna has some great content. I think we need to get together and maybe we can create a cohesive, even more advanced document between us. And I think that would be a great piece as well. If you and Miss Anna are interested in doing something, we can work on that, because I believe we have some great content that is really needed to help others who are wanting to write and become authors to do it the right way. So I want to thank you all for your time on today. We will be back next Thursday. We try to keep this at 45 minutes. I appreciate you, and everybody have a great rest of, and let me tell you this one thing. I will send a link and make sure I have it ready, but we will have our book launch next Thursday for our new book, of which Miss Anna is one of the co-authors. Dr. Coleman is one of the co-authors. So hopefully you will join us next Thursday. We'll be publicizing this more. Thank you so much. And I will see you all next time. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.